So the NBA draft is now under 20 days away, and something a lot of NBA fans do around this time of year is simply familiarize themselves with some prospects. Just seeing if there's anything to really look forward to. And today I'll basically be breaking that down because we're going to look at some of the best player comparisons for some of the top guys in the draft. And I've sort of already made a part 1 where I looked at the best and worst comparisons I've seen on social media, but today I'm just giving my sole opinion on the best ones. Also, I've already covered the major guys like Cade and Jalen Green, so check out part 1 for that, but there's still plenty of lottery and post-lottery players I've yet to go over, so we'll look at about 10 of them today. But real quick before I move on, what's up YouTube? Plug Speaks back with a vid. If you're new, first of all, welcome. Go ahead and sub. Also like the vid if you enjoy. I was inactive for a week. I couldn't record, but I'm back and I usually upload 3 to 4 times a week. Also, we're grinding for a 5K, so I'd for sure appreciate it. But back to the vid though. Now first up, we got USC's Evan Mobley and Chris Bosh. And finding a comparison for Mobley is pretty interesting because he himself has said he tries to emulate his game after Durant, Giannis, and AD. And if he develops similar to any of them, then whatever team picks him will be very satisfied. But as of right now, I don't see much of Giannis or KD in his game as far as playstyle. Now clearly his build is like KD because they're both deceptively slim, but I wouldn't say he plays like KD. Mobley is a 7-foot center that's shown plenty of promise defensively, and then offensively he scores using skill with post hooks and floaters rather than running and dunking like Harden would say. Not to mention he's shown some nice agility for a center, and these are all traits that closely resemble Chris Bosh, so that's why I feel he's the best comparison. But out of the 3 players Mobley brought up himself, he definitely plays like AD the most, especially with how much AD tries to include a perimeter game as a big man. Next up, we got Tennessee's Keon Johnson and the Bulls version of Jimmy Butler / RJ Barrett. And finding a comparison for Keon is kinda tricky because he's honestly a really unique prospect. Nowadays, shooting guards tend to be 6'3 to 6'7 and extremely focused on scoring, mainly off jumpers. But he's a 6'5 shooting guard with ridiculous athleticism, intense defense, and sort of struggles to score from the perimeter. That's almost the complete opposite. So I believe it's fair to compare him to guys like Jimmy Butler or RJ Barrett. They're all around the same height, they're all serious challenges on defense, and also neither of them had much of a 3-point shot coming into the league. So yeah, Keon resembles them pretty closely. And Jimmy and RJ may not share his crazy athleticism, but that's understandable. The man literally broke an NBA combine record. That says enough. Now next up we got Duke's Jalen Johnson and Ben Simmons. And I see this comparison as really accurate. Jalen is a 6'9" point forward whose draft interest is mostly carried by his playmaking skills and above average guard-like abilities for his position. He's comfortable bringing the ball up the floor, his perimeter game is promising, and he already appears to have the build of a professional. So yeah, I've seen this comparison from various sources online and it's only right because he and Ben Simmons share so many of the same things: height, build, playstyle, and it goes on. The main difference is that Jalen will attempt threes occasionally if it's there. However, we obviously can't say the same for Simmons, and that's all there is to it. Now next up we got Arkansas's Moses Moody and Chris Middleton. And Moses Moody is a really straightforward prospect. And in saying that, I mean that the team that drafts him will know exactly what they're getting. There will be no questions. Moses Moody is a non-ball dominant player that can produce buckets at a high level while doing a solid job on defense. And based on that simple description, I believe Chris Middleton is a fair comparison. They have really similar body frames, they can both light it up and get red hot from 3, and they both excel in their roles. Matter of fact, Chris does it so well that he's a 2-time All-Star, and I believe Moody has that same potential as he enters the NBA. Now next up we got Auburn, Sharife Cooper, and Chris Paul / Trey Young / Rajon Rondo. I can't name just one, but from what I've seen online, it seems like Chris Paul and Trey Young are the most common names brought up when discussing Sharife. And to an extent it makes sense. They're all a little undersized for their positions, they all dribble the ball with absolutely amazing handles, and they all have crazy court vision. It's just a lot of similarities. But Chris and Trey share something that Sharife doesn't, which is obviously a reliable jump shot. Sharife's shooting at Auburn was very questionable, and that makes this comparison look a little shaky. But see, that's why I brought up Rajon Rondo, because as we all should know, prime Rondo could score, and he was a playmaking genius, but he could barely make threes. So yeah, hopefully Sharife gets a jumper like CP3 and Trey. Today's game kinda requires it, but if not, becoming Rajon Rondo definitely isn't too bad either. Next up we got Florida's Trey Mann and Bradley Beal, and these two share many things in common. The main one is that they are both smooth and pure scorers, and Trey Mann specifically might be the purest scorer in the draft. And I say this because he gets buckets in seemingly effortless ways, whether it's off a floater in the paint, a mid-range jumper, or a deep three. He has deep range. He's just gonna score the ball. And obviously we can say the same for Bradley Beal. The man's fresh off averaging 30 points a game in the regular season. They're also both around the same height. Beal is more muscular but was built like Trey Mann as a rookie. And it's sorta dope that they both played for the same college. Now I will say Trey Mann is coming into the NBA as a much better playmaker than Beal was, and that his point guard skills should not go unnoticed, but for the most part these two are very similar, and I think it's a really accurate comparison. Next up we got Florida State Scotty Barnes and Draymond Green. And again, from what I've seen online, Draymond is a really common name being brought up with Scotty, so I won't even spend much time on this, but I had to mention it because there's no denying they share many abilities. From being a point forward to playing some serious defense, to being a vocal leader, to doing stuff that doesn't always show up on the stat sheet. They just have a lot in common, and overall it's exactly why Scotty is one of the safest picks in this year's draft. Next up we got Josh Giddey and LaMelo Ball, and I would sleep on Josh Giddey for a while, but not anymore. If you don't know already, he's one of the best international prospects in the whole draft, and I would compare him to LaMelo for a few reasons. He's a pass first point guard, similar size, similar frame, and an entertaining style of play. I've also seen this comparison on social media and I completely agree with it, especially since, similar to LaMelo, Josh played in the NBL and racked up plenty of clever assists, but that's all there is to that. Now next up we got Arizona State's Josh Christopher and DeMar DeRozan, and this is one of the easiest to explain, because although DeRozan has 2 inches on him in height, they share a lot of things, like the same position, many of the same strengths, and even some of the same weaknesses. Josh's best ability is easily scoring and elite shot creation, mainly from the mid-range, but he can also completely steal the show with his dunks. Those are all specialties of DeRozan. I'm pretty sure he won or competed in a dunk contest. So yeah, and overall, I won't be surprised if Josh develops into a very similar player except with better 3-point shooting. He's coming into the NBA with a much better 3 than DeRozan did. But now for the final comparison in this video, we got Gonzaga's Corey Kispert and Joe Harris, which is yet another easy one to explain. Corey Kispert is arguably the best shooter in the entire draft. He's fresh off shooting an amazing 44% from 3 on 6.5 attempts per game, and the lowest he ever shot from deep was 35% as a freshman, which is also impressive. But yeah, of course, Joe Harris is known for being one of the best shooters in the NBA, and once developed, I'm sure teams expect Corey to provide that same value. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if he's in a 3-point contest during All-Star Weekend one day. He's proven to be that great of a shooter, at least at the college level. But anyways, that's about it for these comparisons. Y'all let me know which ones y'all believe are the most accurate, or if you agree with them, or even who else you would bring up. And yeah, I appreciate y'all watching as always. Like this up, share it, sub if new, all of that. We're getting really close to 4K, and I'm out.